On this episode of Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery, I'm going to talk about the 8 steps to migrating your practice to a fee-based financial planning model.
Running a successful fee-based financial planning business is tough, and escaping the shackles of a commission-based financial planning practice is terrifying. When all you want to do is learn from those who know, learn from financial planners who are there on the front lines doing it each and every day. What if you could just open their kimono and take a look inside to learn what works and what doesn't? Now there's a place where the secrets to running a fee-based financial planning business are revealed to those who believe. Fee-based financial planning mastery. Ease your mind.
Hi everyone, it's Scott Plaskett here, and thanks for joining me. In this podcast, you will learn what's working and what's not in the world of fee-based financial planning. In each episode, I'm going to open my kimono and let you take an insider's look at what's working and what's not in my practice to help you take your business to the next level. I've been a fee-based certified financial planner since the early 90s, so believe me, I know the challenges you're facing. So get ready to learn not from a teacher, coach, or guru, but from a colleague who's on the front lines just like you. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my email internet newsletter to get the most up-to-date tips on how to build and grow your fee-based financial planning practice by going to feebasedfinancialplanningmastery.com. Hey everybody, well guess what? It happened to me. My computer, and actually it was my wife and my partner's computer, completely crashed. The hard drive stopped. Couldn't reboot, couldn't do anything, couldn't get it back up. It was done. So if you've listened to some of the previous episodes, you've heard me talk about some of the ways to safeguard against this. Well, I was just put to the test. So basically, it's been 24 hours now. We've got a fixed computer on its way back to us, being couriered back to us. I dropped it off this morning. Got a notification that it was all fixed and is now being dropped back off to us with all the data intact. And the reason why the data is intact, because the backup, the daily backup that runs on the machine had run the night before, and sure enough, all the information was there. So some of the lessons learned I want to talk about, because this scared the shit out of me. I mean, when you are working on your computer every single day and suddenly the one day you go to turn it on and it doesn't turn on, there's a feeling that you get. You can't describe it. You have to feel it yourself. You have to experience it yourself. But when you get it, you know something's wrong. Now, here are the few of the lessons learned. Number 1, cloud-based solutions rock. I mean, you need cloud-based. Cloud-based needs to be sort of part of your vocabulary when it comes to computers. You need to look for every way possible to migrate into the clouds, and I'll tell you why. Because basically, all Kathy needed to do in order to get her machine back up and running, or not her machine back up and running, but to get her back working on her machine, she needed to find a computer that had an internet browser and get onto the system that we use. We're, as I said before, we're using Salesforce.com, so that's a cloud-based solution. Google Apps, all that sort of information. Now, the amazing thing about this, the company that's been doing all this for us, we have all of our PCs managed by a company called No Panic Computing, and I've talked about them before. You know, I don't want it to turn into a commercial for them, but everything that they've said that they were going to do, they did. Everything that they promised to do have come through on. I mean, it's an amazing experience to know that somebody's really watching your back when it comes to your computers. The thing that I didn't have in place, and this is one of the shortcomings, but since this has happened, it's sort of, you know, there's a good that comes from everything. And basically what the good is I noticed one of the programs that we use for our personal finances, we use Quicken. And Quicken in Canada, in any event, doesn't have a cloud-based solution. So on the PC, we use Quicken. You know, it stores everything into a sort of a Quicken file that keeps all your data and stuff there. Now, that file, sure enough, it's all backed up and everything's there. But the problem was we couldn't use that file until it was back on the machine. So one of the solutions that I've put in place now is that we're going to actually take our data files that are, you know, being used on a fairly frequent basis that really are client-based, which means that they're local on your machine. We're going to take those data files and we're going to actually put them in a Dropbox folder and share that folder amongst our computers. So basically, whenever that file is changed, it instantly sends a new file to the computers and replaces it with the changed file. So I haven't tested that to see how it's going to work, but that's basically the route that I'm taking right now, in that I want to make sure that even the client-based solutions that we've got, even the the non-cloud-based solutions, that we can still find a way of working on them, because all we needed to do in that case was find another computer that had Quicken running on it, or just install the software on it, and then we would have had the data file, which would have allowed us to carry on, and everything would have been fine. So that was one of the realizations that I had, is that still with the data files that are stored on your machines, when your machine goes down, you're basically held hostage to it until you get it back with the backup file, and so you are going to probably lose some of the information. So one of the solutions is just simply using Dropbox. And if you haven't used Dropbox, it's an amazing program. Again, Dropbox.com. You create a free account, gives you 2 gigabytes of data storage in the clouds, and you can buy for really, really inexpensive price more data if you want to. But it's just an amazing little system. So hopefully that'll work. I'll let you know if it doesn't. But that's what I plan on when we get the computer back. It's being shipped back to us via UPS tomorrow, so we should receive it first thing in the morning and get Kathy back up and running, and everything will be good. So that's what's new with me. I mean, that was a hard lesson, but a lesson where you don't want to have to test these things, but sometimes you do get tested. And when we did, it seemed to work out well. So I'm glad for that. So words that you can learn from, or wisdom you can learn from, is make sure you do use a managed notebook computer. I know I was actually at an Apple store the other day, and they gave me a program, or gave me a brochure on a program that basically is very similar. They've got a one-to-one and a situation where you pay a certain fee, and then you get a kind of a managed system where I don't know too much about Apples or Macs. I hope to get Migrate over to that on our next iteration of computers. But basically, it sounded like that if you have a computer that goes down for whatever reason, again, as long as you're cloud-based, and if the hardware does go down, they'll actually give you a loaner machine. So you can sort of walk in, drop off your machine. If they can't fix it right there, then they give you another machine to take with you, and then you can get up and running again. So I like that idea. We weren't able to get loaner machines from the No Panic situation, but then again, their turnaround time was pretty quick. So we weren't down for too long. So anyways, hopefully you can learn a lesson from me, and never have to go through what I went through. But the bottom line is that I went through it and came out the other side quite well. So I'm happy for that. So that's what's new with me, and now we'll get on to the feature segment.
And now for our feature segment.
So today we're going to be talking about how to migrate your business to a fee-based financial planning model. And we've got 8 steps that we're going to go through. But basically, we need to talk a little bit about fee-based financial planning first, and what is that model and all that sort of stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, I'm going to ask you a question. I mean, if you look forward 3 years, what do you think will happen to your business if you don't incorporate a fee-based approach? I mean, in particular, what dangers do you think you're going to be faced with? What opportunities are you going to be able to take advantage of? So what strengths do you already have that you can already use? So, let's just talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about some of the dangers. Well, some of the dangers that I've been looking at, basically when it comes to a fee-based approach, commissions right now are dictated by the manufacturers of the products that we sell, and they basically state this is how much each product is going to pay. There are some of the investments do allow you to have some control over that, but basically the commissions are set by the manufacturers and the dealers, and in an effort for them to maintain their own profitability, because right now times are much more challenging for these firms. So in order for them to maintain their own profitability, they're going to have to change commissions. It's one of the easiest ways that they can add money to their own bottom line, is by not having to pay as much on the products. So it's the brokers, it's the dealers, it's the insurance dealers, the mutual fund dealers, all of them. They're all basically going through and revamping their commission structure. They're revamping their pricing structure. So the first step with a lot of the insurance companies now, because the way the fixed income market is, and their inability to properly put reserves in place in their long-term bond market purchases, that means simply that they're having to raise rates. So the first person that's going to get hit on the insurance side is going to be the consumer. But then once the consumer starts to push back enough, then what's going to happen is it's the broker's going to get it, or the agent's going to get it, and it's going to come right from commissions. So number one, I mean, you got to understand commissions are coming down. And so if we don't find other ways of generating, another source of revenue from our practice, then our revenues are going to start to decline as well. Now, everything is beginning to look the same right now. So in the marketplace, mutual funds, it's very difficult to stand out. It's very difficult for any of those products to differentiate themselves. So, you can sit down and you can go up head to head against any other advisor, but the bottom line is you've still got the same products. Their product kind of looks like yours. Yours kind of looks like the next guy's. And so there's no real competitive advantage. So, everything's beginning to look the same. So any competitive advantage you once had on a product is simply going to be lost. And, that's a problem because everything seems to go through this phase of being commoditized, and that's what's happening. Mutual funds are being commoditized. People are simply saying, what's the rate of return? What's the MER? And they're basically comparing them that way. So we've got to find ways around that. We've got to find ways to add value and charge for that value. Consumers are really pushing back against product sales. They know now that where they can buy certain things, so it's not so much of a need anymore to have somebody as a broker. What they're looking for is they're looking for more comprehensive advice. And if you're not able to give them that, then you need to help them increase their confidence on making decisions. And they're looking for value. They're looking for advice. They're not looking for products anymore. They know at the end of the day they've got to buy something, but you know what? They can probably buy it themselves. So what that means is they're coming to people for advice. And if you're not there, if you're not able to give them that advice in a comprehensive way, they're simply going to go somewhere else. And that's the reality. So, some of the dangers, if you're not really, if you're not embracing the fee-based model, you're not embracing sort of how to incorporate fees into your practice, these are some of the dangers that are going to become more and more of a reality, especially with the big demographic shift that's happening. And you've got a lot of the baby boomers who are starting to die off, and the wealth is going to be transferring to the next generation. Well, the next generation is much more savvy, and they're looking for value from the advice. They're not necessarily looking for products. So, definitely keep that in mind. Now, with some of the opportunities that we can start taking advantage of, they're definitely more willing to pay for good advice. And that, take a look at any industry. Any industry that's providing value, people are willing to pay for it. Any good restaurant, maintains its luster and they keep their clientele. Sometimes you spend a lot of money on dinner. Well, the reason why we go there is because we're getting more value for our money than anywhere else. So certain places have it, certain places don't. People are willing to pay for it, so you need to create it. Comprehensive financial planning is becoming more recognized by consumers. So what that means is that there are these lobby organizations that are promoting financial planning, and the buzz term seems to be financial planning, and they keep on coming back to referring to the industry as financial planners now, more so than they are the insurance agents and investment sales. So that's a good thing. Those are some opportunities that we can start to piggyback on, because consumers are getting a little more aware of the idea of financial planning. Now, we know that they probably think they have a financial planner in most cases, when the reality is they don't. And so all we need to do is we need to start educating them as to what good financial planning is. People are looking for a relationship with a well thought out process. So they're not necessarily looking for a relationship with an individual. They're looking for a relationship with a process that they can rely on. And that gives us an opportunity to create sort of a team-based approach. And that team-based approach will actually be embraced by a clientele when it's well quarterbacked. Now, what I mean by well quarterbacked, if you're the senior financial planner or you're the creator of your financial planning, way, then people recognize that, you're the specialist when it comes to that particular financial planning way. And they recognize that you can hire other people. And you oftentimes, in order to run your business, need to have support staff and a support team in order to keep it running. And so the goal for us really is to start to educate people that you need to form a relationship with a firm who has the right process that you've bought into, that you sort of agree with, and focus on the concept of a team-based financial planning. Now, there has been, I'm probably going to get some emails and some comments on this saying, oh, no, it's got to be, one-on-one. Individuals are looking for relationships and whatnot. And I do agree with that. And I think that there needs to be a good relationship with the senior planner. However, that senior planner doesn't need to be the person who does everything. So, and people will appreciate that. Some of the strengths that you can already use, the hardest thing in the world, I think our business is probably the most amazing because a lot of what we sell doesn't exist. When you think about it, we sell an insurance policy. And what does that mean? Well, it's basically we're selling confidence. We're giving somebody peace of mind and knowing that if some eventuality were to happen, they're confident that somebody else is going to then either pay the bill or cover the cost or, fund it or whatever. So, we're selling an intangible. And when we sell an intangible, it's very, very difficult to do. So we've got an innate skill set that really adds to our ability to sort of get in there and start selling, a service. A service right now is kind of an intangible. So there's some solutions that we can put in place in order to start selling those services a little bit better. You already have right now, if you've been practicing, even for a little bit, you've already got a group of clients who see you as their trusted advisor. So when you bring the idea to them, the idea of comprehensive financial planning, then whether they accept your invitation to actually do the comprehensive financial plan or not, because remember, you're going to be charging a fee for it. Not everybody's going to accept it. But what they do then see is they see you as somebody who's got more value than anybody else. So, a lot of the fears people have when they're looking at converting to a fee-based financial planning practice is they're like, oh, my clients are going to get upset because I'm going to be charging them the fee. In actual case, it's the exact opposite. They actually say, you know what? Wow, if you're charging fees for that now, maybe it's not the right thing for me, but if you're charging fees, there must be some extra value that you're providing that other people aren't. And so, it does elevate you in their mind, and it's a good thing. So, the other thing that you've got going for you is that now I've put together this podcast and I'm talking to you about fee-based financial planning, everything you need to know to make a better business. And you've got that on your side. So there's now resources coming to you from front of the line people who are, in the trenches doing exactly what you're doing. These are the people that you want to be getting some counsel from. So hopefully you can participate in this community, comment on the blog, comment on the podcast blog, on iTunes, wherever, get involved and start to communicate a little bit, because that's what's going to allow us to build everybody to build a better practice. So one of the big risks that people, not risks, I shouldn't say, but one of the big things that keeps people from moving forward in embracing a fee-based model is that they just don't know how to make that initial transition. They get the fact, the numbers work, they get it, they understand that, oh yeah, in the long run, man, you can make so much more money, it's much more reliable, and so and so and so and so. However, getting there is the difficulty. And so the risk and the fear is that you can't afford a drop in revenues during the transition period. We've all got obligations, we've got mortgages, we've got kids going through school, we've got kids getting ready for university. There's costs and obligations that we have as financial planners too. And when we come to rely on a certain level of income, it's very difficult to see that income go down. Well, that's one of the fears, that we're going to see that happen, and how we're going to make it through that transition. Well, the reality is that when you make the transition for the right reasons and seek out the right new clients, your overall revenues will go up. If you've made this migration, so if you're listening to this podcast and you've already done that, and you say, oh yeah, you're nodding your head right now going, yeah, that's absolutely true. I've done it. I've seen my revenues go up and so on. Then I want to know about it. I want to hear about it. What's your experience been like? Was it a good one? Was it not a good one? My experience, I'm going to tell you about a little bit later. It was a great one, but I don't know. Maybe other people haven't had that experience. But so far, the people I've talked to, the other advisors I've talked to who actually have made that change, have loved it. They think it was one of the best things they ever did. So what happened to your revenues during the migration period? Did they go down? Did they go up? Let's talk about it a little bit. So comment on it. I don't want to know what the numbers are unless you want to share that, but I just want to know if it was a positive or a negative experience, because I found it very positive. And, there was a study that I came across. There was AXA Financial, formerly The Equitable, in September of 2000, in Financial Planning Magazine. There is an article in there that was written, and it was basically talked about the results of AXA Financial migrating to a fee-based financial planning model. Now, those participants who participated in the pilot program to migrate to a fee-based financial planning approach, here's what they saw. They saw their overall sales went up by 31%. Their life insurance sales went up by 24%. And their investment sales went up by 73%. So, they definitely, the people who participated in the program, there was a monumental difference between the ones who did and the ones who didn't, because the ones who didn't participate in the pilot program and just carried on in the commission-based model, their overall sales during that same time period went down 12 to 15%. My experience has been that from the day that I made that commitment to just never taking on a new client without going through a fee-based financial planning approach, charging fees, from the day that happened, I've never seen a decline in revenues year over year. It amazes me, sometimes, because there are some years when I'm actually, I feel like I'm working less. I mean, right now I'm working a lot more because I've got a lot of other projects on the go. But when I went through the transition period, my workload actually went down and down and down. So I was working less hours, but my income kept on going up. My revenues kept on going up. Top line revenues kept on going up. Bottom line expenses kind of stayed the same. So, all the things and all the tools that I put in place really made for a tremendous experience in my mind. And my experience has been nothing but positive. Now, there's other challenges, and we're, starting out from scratch. That was my experience. I'm taking things to the next level now and trying to really grow the practice. And so, there's the challenges that go along with that, and we can get into those challenges in a later episode. But I tell you, from going from a commission-based process to a fee-based process, I have never looked back. Done the right way, following the approach that I followed, I just haven't seen the revenues go down. And if that's one of the biggest fears standing in your way, I'll tell you right now, my experience was that it wasn't. And if you've also had the same experience, just put a little note on the comments. Say, you know what, I agree. This my experience was, this is what happened. This is, my revenues went up on my insurance sales. And for me, honestly, that's where a lot of it came from, because I'm dual licensed, I was able to see a real increase in my insurance sales, tremendous increase in my insurance sales. And the main reason is because I had more time. I wasn't so focused on the investments and doing all the investments anymore, because I've hired that out to other investment counselors and whatnot. But I didn't see the revenue drop. The overall revenue drop didn't go down. I actually saw the revenue streams level out a little bit, in that I wasn't so reliant on one stream anymore, and that makes for a much more stable business. So what is fee-based financial planning? I've been using the term for a while, and there's a variety of terms out there. Now, I'm going to start off with fee financial planning. So fee financial planning is when you charge a fee, irrespective of product implementation, for the writing of a comprehensive financial plan. So there's the fee-only model, and then there's the fee-based model. Now, I'm going to talk about the fee-only model. Fee-only model. This is, and these are my definitions. These aren't sort of industry standards or whatever, but I think you'll kind of agree with how I put it up here. So fee financial planning on the fee-only model. This is when you charge a fee for the writing of a comprehensive financial plan, period. You charge a fee for the maintaining of that financial plan through regular progress report meetings, period. That's it. That's the only way, in my mind, if you're going to call yourself a fee-only financial planner, that's the only way you can generate revenue, from charging fees for the monitoring or the writing of a comprehensive financial plan. Now, a fee-based model. Fee-based model is when you charge a fee for the writing of a comprehensive financial plan, check, that's one. When you charge a fee for the maintaining of that financial plan through the regular progress report meetings, that's two, so same as the fee-only model. However, now, when you provide the implementation services, should a client request the financial planner implement the plan for them, that's important, because that's where I say, okay, fee-based, the difference between the fee-based and fee-only is that if you're fee-based, you are able to implement a plan for a client. Now, you don't require it, and I don't think you should ever require it. I think you should always talk about, get the client for the fee-only planning first. You want to get the client writing of the comprehensive financial plan and get them in to buy into that whole comprehensive approach. But then at the end of the day, they're going to need to implement it somewhere. So they have a choice. They can implement it themselves. They can go find somebody else to implement it, or they can have you implement it. This is why I like the fee-based model, because when somebody asks us to have us implement the plan for them, now we're going to be basically, you're implementing two things. You're either implementing investments or you're implementing insurance. On the investment side, fees are generated based on a percentage of assets charged separately to the client account. So it's critical on the investment side, in my mind, to have complete full disclosure. So the way we do that, if we're dealing with, whether it be if it's a mutual fund, we charge our fees to that account separately. If it's a fee-based account through an investment referral agreement with an investment counselor, we charge our fees separately. So what that means is that the client will see on their statement that there was a fee charged for financial planning services, and that fee is disclosed to them. So they see it on their account. On the insurance world, that's a little bit different because right now, in Canada anyways, we don't have unbundled fee type products. Currently in Canada, we don't have that type of solution. So, it's the reality is we just can't do a fee-based approach on the insurance, whether it be life insurance, critical illness, disability, long-term care, all of that. We don't have a solution right now. Not all provinces in Canada allow for rebating. So I'm in the province of Ontario, so I'm not able to rebate on the insurance side. I know some of the other provinces, Alberta, I think, is one that you can do some rebating, but we're not allowed to do that in Ontario. And the whole concept of rebating, I don't know how much, whether I agree with it totally. The thing that's important about a situation where you're making some commissions on insurance, just ensure the recommendations are based on logical solutions to the financial planning issues at hand. So, you want to make sure that you've got a logical reason for recommending the particular structure or type of policy or whatnot. And that's what makes it so easy. When you've written the whole financial plan and you come up and you can establish a need, it's hard to say, well, I don't really need that, because the need's been there. It's based on the client's goals and wishes. And so by putting that need together, and showing that need and illustrating it properly and illustrating how it impacts their financial plan, it does increase their insurance, their desire to have the insurance solutions put in place. Just make sure that there's some good disclosure around that. So fee-based financial planners should be fully licensed, in my mind, for implementation, but have full disclosure of that fact. You see, when you put together your letter of engagement, which is a later step in the process, you want to make sure that the client is fully aware that, number one, you're charging a fee for the plan writing, and number two, if they implement through you, you will receive compensation from the investment firms and the insurance firms. Just make sure that full disclosure is there. You can still goes along the lines of fee-based because everything is based on the fee. The insurance, I get that it's not like that right now. Hopefully that will change as time goes on. But fee-based to me is just making sure full disclosure is there. Now, on the investment side, you can still look at a commission-based structure if you want to implement. It just kind of goes against what the whole premise is all about. And I tell you, when you get into larger and larger accounts, clients just aren't going to stand for it. They just won't go with any embedded commissions. They want to see everything up front. They want to know exactly what they're paying for. So when it comes to fee-based financial planning, there's really two stages. There's the plan writing and then the plan implementation. So with the plan writing, that's the fee financial planner. That's when you're basically saying, look, I'm charging you a fee for the analysis and the comprehensive financial plan writing. I'm going to put together a comprehensive plan, and you can elect to take that plan and implement it wherever you want. Now, as soon as they cross the line and they say, you know what, I'd really like to have you implement the plan for me because I don't want to have to educate somebody else. I don't want to have to go find somebody else that can implement the plan because then they're going to ask me a lot of questions. And that's the reality, is that clients, when they want to work with you and they've gone through the process and the whole plan writing process, they want you to implement the plan for them. So, with the fee-only sort of planners that are out there that really, really promote, I don't do any implementation, I oftentimes wonder, well then, what do you do? Are you just letting your clients sort of out there to hanging out to dry and saying, well, go find somebody to do it? Or if you've got a relationship with somebody, well, that's great. But, you're leaving your business too much to chance on somebody else's ability to properly service. And unless you've got somebody that you really, really trust, it's very difficult, especially when you're saying, like, I'm a fee-only planner and I'm not receiving any compensation from the implementation side of things. So, that may be, but I know of I've seen some fee financial planners where they say, well, I don't do any implementation, yet they have another interest in another company which does implementation. So it's kind of doesn't sit well with me. Basically, if you're going to call yourself a fee-only financial planner, be fee only. And if you're going to call yourself fee-based, then that's fine. At least that opens the door and says that, with full disclosure, that you are going to be receiving some compensation from the implementation. Now, The fee-based approach works really, really well with mid to high net worth clients. Commission-based approach is really, in my mind, for lower net worth clients. And the reason for that is not everybody can afford the fees. Not everybody should be able to afford the fees. Not everybody should need the comprehensiveness of a fee-based financial plan. Sometimes people just need to get started. And, if they have a smaller account, it's difficult to get good advice. You may be not doing the full comprehensive plan, but even to sit with them and give them advice, you do need to be compensated for that. And if the if the client moves forward and they've got, call it $100,000, and you put it into account, even if you're getting a 1% trailer on that, it's not really compensating you for the work that you're doing over that year. So that's where I believe that the commission-based model still works, is for lower net worth clients, so that they can gain some advice from some pretty qualified people, because those qualified people are now willing to meet with them because they're being compensated to do so. So the term fee only should be reserved only for those who will not and do not implement any financial plans in any way. Fee-only advisors, they should not have another company, such as an investment counseling arm or an insurance brokerage, that they refer them to that will garner an indirect benefit for them. Basically, if you're going to call yourself fee only, you can't have any other compensation coming in from any other source. It just doesn't sit right. I don't think it's ethical. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. Now, fee-based, this is for the planner who charges a fee for the financial planning, but does not require the client implement through them. Now, I stress that does not require. You want to be able to. I have clients that don't implement through me. Most of our clients do. Okay, so when you spend the time doing a comprehensive financial plan, most clients will end up implementing through you, and that's one of the reasons why your implementation rates go up when you do embrace the fee-based financial planning model. I don't like the idea of rebating. Okay, I've heard some people in the industry, they say, well, I'll charge a fee for the financial plan, but if they implement through me, then I'll rebate them their fee, or I'll waive that fee. I think that, it reduces the value that the financial plan has. I don't like the idea of rebating. Let's do what we can as an industry to increase the actual and perceived value of a financial plan by not rebating and not undercharging. Financial planning started become popular when planners they were basically saying, I'll do a free financial plan for you. And they basically said, I'll do whatever it can because I want to get the implementation. I want to get your investments. I want to get your insurance. So I'll put together this free financial plan and I'll just do it for you quickly. So people were thinking they were getting a full financial plan. The reality is they weren't. And, a fee financial planner should be fully licensed to assist the client with the implementation of their plan if the client requests it. You don't make it so that they have to do it. Give them the opportunity to go elsewhere. But I tell you, by rebating your fee, it just kind of devalues it. It really makes the whole idea of comprehensive financial planning, that in my mind should be something you can stand alone on. My goal as a fee-based financial planner is to operate my practice so it's profitable through just the fees we're generating from the financial plan writing alone. And I want all the implementation revenues to be gravy on top of that. So you have to add a lot of value to it. You have to take time and really put some time and effort into creating a process that people will find of value and people are willing to pay for, so that they'll keep coming back for more. So it's very important that we do that. So let's talk about the 8 steps now. So the first step in order to migrate to a fee-based financial planning model is you need to learn how to market your unique process. You need to, first of all, get clients in the door. So how do you do that? How do you get leads to get interested in you? Well, you want to find out what is unique about what you do and create a unique process around that you can market. So in essence, what you're doing is you're turning your service into a product. It's so much easier to sell a product because products have, do things for people. Services, they do things, but they're kind of airy-fairy. They're kind of, they're hard to get your head wrapped around. And so when you can turn your service into a product, now people can actually say, oh, well, yeah, this is great. This is the, whatever it may be. So, you turn it into a product. So take your unique process, name it, call it something, document it so that people can start to see what it is you're talking about. Number 2 is you want to create your own fee schedule. So you're going to attach a fee to the financial planning work you do. So what you're going to do is now that you've take step number one, which is to market your unique process, you're now going to charge for that unique process. Take a look at each stage of your process. You can charge for that. There's different ways you can do this. You can say, okay, well, I'll charge for each stage. I've heard of people who are charging for just the initial discovery process, and then they have different fees for different stages along the process, and people will pay it as they go. Others, and this is the approach that we take, we charge what I call an all-you-can-eat fee for the entire process or program. So a client can take a look at the fee schedule and say, okay, well, I want this program and I'm going to buy the program. And so we charge for the program, which includes a comprehensive financial plan and everything that goes along with it. And we have different programs for different segments of the market. You can create various programs for the different niches that you work with and charge a different rate for those niches. So if you're dealing with business owners or chiropractors or veterinarians or dentists or plumbers or whoever, if you have a niche, you can actually build your process and market your process, which is specifically designed to solve the issues and concerns and challenges of that niche. Once you've done that, you've actually made your process more valuable to that particular niche, which means you can you charge a higher fee for that process. The thing that's important about charging the fee, oftentimes people say, well, how do I charge the fee? What do I do? Well, the easiest way to do it is simply charge it to their credit card. It's no fun to actually have anybody write out a check or send them an invoice and all that sort of stuff. So I always find that if you're able to charge it to their credit card, then go ahead and do that. Now, once you've done that, step 3 is you're going to template and script everything. So you're going to script your entire sales process, become one with it, completely understand it. I've actually gone through and I've scripted every word that I say through the whole process, how I introduce things, how I go through it, what questions I ask, when I ask the questions. And I did that because I want to sort of turn it into a bit of a routine. I want to be able to turn it into something that I can replicate over and over again. Kind of like the McDonald's analysis. Not that I want everything the quality of McDonald's, but the thing about McDonald's is that it's reliable. You know that no matter which store you go to, their fries are always going to taste the same. So they've got that level of power because they've templated every process of making a French fry, so they know it's always going to taste the same. Everything about it is going to be reliable. Ensure you have at least 2 free initial meetings. So, a prospect really has a chance to find out more about you. You do things differently now. If you've embraced a fee-based financial planning process, you do things differently. You also want to make sure that it gives you a chance to find out if this is a person or a couple or a business who you really want to work with. As a fee-based financial planner, the best thing you can do is focus on areas that you enjoy working in, on clients that you enjoy working on. And if you can niche it down, do so. It's not a requirement. Niching is important. You don't just want to take a shotgun approach, but you want to have a chance to interview them. You want to give them a chance to interview you because you're actually charging a fee for it. So it just gives people a little bit more comfort in knowing that the first initial, at least the way our process works, is the first 2 meetings, there's a no obligation, free, complimentary, no pressure. Let's just find out a little bit about each other. That's what the 2 meetings are for. Now, by the end of those meetings, I basically say at the end of the second meeting, you should have no unanswered questions, and you'll know exactly what it means to move forward with our services if we both find it appropriate to do so. And so that comes into handy, but you want to be able to script all this out so that you just know what you're going to say when, because oftentimes I've seen other financial advisors will sit down and they're kind of afraid to present the fee, especially at the beginning. It's very, very nerve-wracking to present the fee. And unless you have a track to run on, you could just sabotage yourself. You could just not get to that point. You'll try and talk around the whole idea of presenting the fee. But if you've scripted it out, you know that you're following the script, and sooner or later, you're going to get to the point of presenting the fee. So it can be a real confidence booster as well for you. The other thing you want to do is make sure you use a letter of engagement. All professionals will have you sign some sort of a letter of engagement. When you're charging a fee, people want to know exactly what it is they're getting and what the terms of the contract are. So we've put together a letter of engagement and we make sure everybody signs it. It's where we get them to sign off on the credit card that they're going to be using. It lays out exactly what the services are that we're going to provide, what the fees are that we're charging them. And it just, it makes the whole approach to fee-based financial planning that much more quality. So definitely take advantage of using a letter of engagement. And then use a 50-50 approach for your payments or for the way you charge things. The way we do it is we take 50% of the fee up front, and that's basically to retain us. So the upfront fee says, okay, I want to move forward with you. We charge their credit card 50% of the initial year's fee, and that's the starting point. So now we've got that. Helps with cash flow because it basically gets money in the bank quite well. One of the problems with a fee-based approach on the implementation side, if you rely on that solely, your cash flow actually goes way down up front because you've got nothing coming in. It's not like when you've got an embedded commission that you get something up front. So when you sell an investment product, you may take a while. It may take a few months before you get your first semblance of compensation or revenue from that. So you've got to be able to weather that. Well, one of the ways we do that is through the fee-based financial planning. When we charge for our financial plan, we charge 50% of the fee up front, and people pay it up front, and so that helps with cash flow as well. The remaining balance is payable once the financial plan is written to the client's satisfaction. That can take a while. It can take 2 weeks, it can take 2 months, it could take 6 months. But basically, you want to get to the point where the client says, "Yeah, I agree with everything here. I'm going to implement all of this just the way it is. This is exactly the plan that I want to move forward with." At that point, they then walk away with a binder that has their version of the financial plan in it, and that's the plan that we're going to be using for benchmarking going forward. Now, when you're writing your financial plan, step 6 says use quality financial planning software, okay? Don't use free software. Pay for a license and learn to use the comprehensive planning software programs that are in the marketplace. Now, I've looked around. I don't know how many different planning programs I've looked at. I personally have settled on NaviPlan. Now, the learning curve is a little steep, but more and more when I look around, most of the other fee-based financial planners or people who are sort of embracing the comprehensive planning approach are migrating to NaviPlan. NaviPlan has a US version. They have a Canadian version. They're very well capitalized, a fairly large company. Their software updates are quite regular. And the planning, I'm not going to say it's perfect because it's far from that, but it is one of the best that I've ever used. There is another one out there that I've come across. A colleague of mine is using it called VisionWorks. I haven't decided to make a migration over to VisionWorks because, for me, I've been with NaviPlan for so long. It's just that there's a lot of work involved, and I don't know if I would necessarily get the benefit from doing so. But the thing VisionWorks has is they have some really interesting modules where you can add on a trust component. You can add on an estate planning component. You can add on, not the estate plan, you can add on a corporation component as well. So if you've got business owners that have multiple corporations, you can incorporate all that planning in there. It's not as easy to do that with NaviPlan. So there are some limitations there. And I'm sure there are some limitations on the VisionWorks where NaviPlan does a better job, but at the end of the day, I think they're both quality ones, and I'm only saying that the VisionWorks is because a colleague of mine who I think does a great job and has a great practice. He has looked around and he was using CCH was another one in Canada. It was it's another comprehensive one, but he had some challenges with it, and he decided to go with VisionWorks. So I personally like NaviPlan and VisionWorks. I think I've looked at everything. And I've personally settled on NaviPlan just because it's something that I'm comfortable with. And once you get to know the software and you get to know how to reveal the information, clients will oftentimes in our process, they'll have questions about where certain numbers came from. And if you can't go into the software and find those numbers and be able to justify those numbers, it's very difficult to gain confidence. So you need to really learn the program. And NaviPlan has some great tutorials that allow you to get into it. And then they've got a good help desk that you can call, and they'll help you through quite a bit of that as well. So again, it's not a sales pitch for NaviPlan because they're far from being perfect, but they are, in my mind, one of the better ones. Now, step 7 is you need to break the presentation of your financial plan into multiple meetings. The one thing you don't want to do is overwhelm a client. It's confusing enough when clients are coming in and you start to present to them all the stuff you're going to do for them, all the things you're going to look at, and all the analysis you're going to do. It's like, wow, there's a lot there. It's the first time they've ever been exposed to true financial planning. So don't overwhelm them. What we do in our practice is we break the initial plan in presentation into 2 meetings. So we have part 1 and part 2. In part 1, we take a look at their retirement plan, their investment plan, and their education plan to make sure that's all working. Now, with the education plan and the investment plan, we also include in the plan our recommended implementation solutions so that a client can think about it. We want them to be aware that, at this point, because it's another revenue stream for us, we want them to be aware that we can actually implement the plan to get them on track to where that we feel that they should be, or they can do it themselves. But we want to make them aware of that. So we go through the retirement plan, all the calculations just to make sure that the plan's doable, education plan, and then the investment plan as well. Then once we've made some agreements on that, we then set the stage for the next meeting, which is where we get back together, look at any adjustments or changes that would have what-if scenarios that we had to incorporate into the original plan from the part 1 meeting. And then once we've done that, we come back with, okay, well, here are all the adjustments that we made. And now we're going to take it to the next step, and we're going to take a look at the insurance plan, and we're going to take a look at the estate plan. Now, in the insurance plan, we go through and we do a full analysis of all their life insurance needs, their long-term disability insurance needs. We take a look at their health and dental plans, their group benefits, their long-term care insurance needs. We go through everything to see if there's a need there. What I'm doing at this stage is I'm trying to justify or trying to see if there's an opportunity or if there's identify a need is really all I'm trying to do. So if we can identify needs in any one of these, now we have, again, another revenue stream that we can start to look at. But that's interesting. When you're doing the comprehensive financial plan, sometimes it shows that the need's not there. And when you can say to a client, okay, we looked at this, you're perfectly well covered, and we don't really think that you need to make any changes there. Or you can then say, you know what, this need is a little more important because you've got maybe you've got a group long-term disability plan. It's not perfect, but it's something. So instead of using some of the extra money to top up the group disability plan, when you really drastically need some life insurance, why don't we then just take the funds that you've got and put that towards the life insurance? And you're not going to have a perfect plan, but you're going to have sort of good coverage all around. So it allows us to just have these types of discussions. So it allows us to find the money to fund a lot of the implementation. And then on the estate plan, again, we because the planning software has such a great, robust estate planning calculation, for the clients where it's appropriate, we can start having the conversation about what's going to happen on death. This is basically how much of your estate you're going to lose to tax erosion, and here's some solutions that might protect against that if it's a concern. Some clients say, you know what, I'm dead. I don't really have a real concern with that. Other clients say, wow, I'm losing how much to tax? That's ridiculous. What can I do to stop that? So we take a look at some solutions for that at that point. So now, once we've broken those into the two initial presentation meetings, there may be other implementation meetings. There may be other what-if scenarios, other meetings that we want to get together with the client to say, okay, well, we've gone back to the drawing board. Maybe they didn't like the first couple iterations of the plan, and so we've had to change things. And so we just go back and forth as many times as necessary in order to get the plan right. Then at the end, once the plan is done, step 8 is you need to create in your process a financial plan monitoring program. So this is where you incorporate progress reports into the overall planning program. So you can auto-renew their plan with the progress reports. You see, people need a reason to stick with you. And if you can say, okay, now we've got all the plan complete and done, now every year we're going to update it. So we're going to get back together, and this is the fee for doing that, and set it up on an auto-renew plan. So if you've got their credit card, they sign off on it with a letter of engagement. They now know that if they want, they can just carry on with their services. It's going to auto-renew. They know what the fee is up front, and it carries on, and they sign off for it. So, it's important to do that up front because, going back to a client every year and saying, okay, just to remind you, there's now another fee due, it may be... In my mind, it just says, if times are tough, let's say you took a client on in January and suddenly, they were really motivated at that point, and then the next year goes by, things didn't go as well at work, they didn't get the promotion, they didn't get the bonus, and suddenly they've got all these Christmas bills. They get a bill from you and they're like, well, geez, I've got to pay the Christmas bills. Do we really need this financial plan? It's nice to have, and I do value. So we just make it easy and we say, look, we're just going to auto renew on your credit card. Let's sign for it now. We know what the fee is going to be. And we actually haven't increased our auto renew fees ever. So clients, whatever they started with, they've been on it. If they've been with us for 10 years, they're still paying the same auto renew fee that they were. And, and they kind of like that. So, don't go crazy with it. Don't, increase it every year. And you'll have a nice annuity revenue stream coming in as a result. So, at this point, again, go to feebasedfinancialplanningmastery.com, click on episode 3, and, put some questions in there, put some comments. I've talked about a lot of things here. Some things people will agree with, some things they may not agree with. If they don't agree with it, I want to know. I want to know why. I want to get into a bit of a discussion with that. Also, check out the toolbox and the recommended reading list to see, a listing of other resources I use to run my successful fee-based financial planning practice, other books that I've read that I think are really quite valuable, and a lot of the resources there, I just couldn't exist without them. So it's basically your go-to place for determining, are there any other technologies that maybe could help you with some of your challenges. So get out there and build yourself a better practice.
You've been listening to Scott E. Plaskett, a certified financial planner and industry veteran in the world of fee-based financial planning. Want free resources to help you build a better fee-based financial planning firm? Visit ilovefinancialplanning.com right now to register for Scott's Inner Circle email list, where you'll get front-of-the-line updates on the latest resources that are driving profits to Scott's fee-based financial planning practice. All of the resources are pulled directly from the highly acclaimed Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery Academy. Go now to ilovefinancialplanning.com. Build a better business and make more money with your fee-based financial planning practice today.